Hello, beautiful, and welcome to the Moms Talk Sex podcast with me, Mor Yelvington, your host. I'm so excited for you to be here today because I have the beautiful Erin, and we're going to have such an intimate, sexy conversation. So grab your cup of whatever and come join us. Hi, Erin.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. How about you share with our listeners who you are and what it is that you do in the world?
Yeah, so I'm Erin Berry Bliss, and I am a conscious relationship and intimacy coach. And I actually got into this work about 10 years ago when I got divorced. And really, I was trying to figure out what it is that I had done to create the relationship that I had so that I didn't repeat it. But also, I felt like all along there was something lacking in my intimacy, and I was really curious about what that was and how to create it. And the more that I learned, the more that I wanted to share. So I love talking all things intimacy and sex. So I'm excited for this conversation.
So when did you learn that something was lacking? Like what to you was like the aha moment, like, okay, maybe this shouldn't be like this, or
I was actually having sex with my ex-husband, and I remember looking up at him and being aware that he was not even there. Like he was eyes closed, somewhere like fantasizing. I'm not sure, but I just remember staring for a long time and being like, there has got to be more to this than I'm experiencing. And what is it?
so did you find out what that was? I feel like a lot of women are probably in your shoes at this moment specifically.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had been studying yoga while I was still married, and one of the programs that I went through was very steeped in Tantra, which I'm sure you've probably talked about on the show before, but it's a spiritual practice of making sexuality sacred. And although I was learning the philosophy of it, it kind of led me into then studying more tantric principles when it came to intimacy. And this is the stuff I work with couples and individuals in the world now is that intimacy is not just the physical act of sex. It's the emotional safety, it's the energetic connection, it's the feeling like you are in it with another person, not just bumping bits. That's actually not intimacy at all. I feel sex and intimacy can go together, but they actually don't have to.
Yes, I love that. So this is what's coming up for me. Like I feel like so many people that I interview on this show, nobody talked to them about sex. Nobody educated them about sex. Nobody and and whatever they learned and whatever they heard, from the internet, from porn, from whatever magazines they found in their parents' hidden closets. It's like, how do we talk? And I don't know if you work with teens or like 18-year-olds, whatever, young adults. How do we talk to them about this stuff? Because right, like until I started researching this, I never heard about Tantra, the energy behind sex, right? It just talks about the actual act. So how do
Hmm.
we actually teach our kids? Because I feel like this is what will change the trajectory of the next generation, right? Like,
Absolutely.
how do we incorporate that in the conversation even about sex, right?
Yeah, well, I have two teens right now, so I think I can speak to this real time. Of course, they do sex education in school. And of course, you can get the book ahead of time and you can look through it and probably make fun of it. It's very antiquated, at least it was when my kids were going through it. I was like, this is disturbing. But really, the way that I took the conversation was everything that I wished that someone would have told me was actually more what I educated them about. We
Mhm.
went through the book. I was like, cool, your science teacher can tell you all about zygotes and the phases of whatever is happening and all of that. Fine. But really, I wish somebody would have told me that my pleasure is just as important as somebody else's. I wish somebody would have told me not to give away my body to someone else so that they liked me. I wish somebody would have told me that my body has its own consent, so not like just mentally what I'm thinking I should do with somebody, but actually like how to check in with my body and see if it's even a consensual thing that I'm doing. Which, by the way, I'm still teaching like 40, 50-year-old women the same thing.
I'm sure because I feel like one of the biggest things that we do is give our power away in order to be received in this reality, which tells us exactly how we should look, what we should do, how we should act, not just in the bedroom, but also in regular life, right? There's
Everywhere. Yeah.
all these expectations. And so I feel like so many women try to fit in this box
Hmm.
constantly. And it's almost like it's not until you get a divorce, until you have a breakdown, until you have depression and you're on medication that you're like, wait, life shouldn't be this way. So how do we
Yeah.
kind of like prevent that? Right? I feel like these conversations are like, let's stop it before it actually happens. How can we help women actually feel and listen to their body, like everything you just said, right? Like how can we show them the way to that?
I mean, I think we are just by having these conversations because I think that, it's one of those things where everyone is obviously, when it comes to sex, like most people are doing it or
Yes,
thinking about it.
hopefully.
Yeah. Or, wondering about it. And yet it's become this, I don't know that I think it's as taboo as it used to be, but in general, it's been made this taboo thing. So I think the more that we shed light on it and share our experiences, that's really helpful for everyone involved.
So how did it start changing your relationship when you started diving in more to this stuff? How were you able to bring that into your bedroom to shift it?
So, I mean, a lot of my work was solo, honestly, because I had just been divorced. But I think it's like that's foundation of everything I do, whether I'm working with someone on relationship or anything. It's all about our relationship to self because intimacy, if you break down the word, is actually into me, I see. Well, you have to be able to see yourself first and be able to love and accept who you are in order for other people to do the same. So, as I learned about relationship, as I learned about my relational patterns and what I had done to attract who I had and what to do to actually change the game and connect, I mean, all of my relationships since then have just been deeper to the point now where I'm in partnership and it just feels so aligned. It feels like these things that were challenging in my marriage. It's just I've aligned with someone who naturally gets them in a way that he's meeting me where I'm at. I can just see I was a totally different person when I was married. I didn't know anything when I got married. To your point, like my parents didn't tell me anything about any of this. I just followed my conditioning. And I think it's beautiful. I see couples all the time who create like relationship 2.0 where they're learning this stuff and they're growing together.
Mhm.
So that's definitely, if you're in a relationship and you're feeling a little lost right now, you can create 2.0 with who you're with. It's like a rediscovery. It's kind of fun.
I love it. Maybe you can give some tips to how do we get there? Like if you're in a stagnant marriage, 20 years in, your kids are a little older now, so you can have more freedom. How do you get to relearn or reestablish that connection?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like right now I've got a lot of friends who are in that like empty nester phase or like beginning to think about that phase, really. And the smart ones are the ones that are thinking about it before the kids leave the house, because if your relationship is lacking when they're there, it's just going to get more awkward
Yeah,
when the
because you
kids
have
leave.
nothing to talk about.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of the work that I do in the world is actually workshops and retreats where you learn new tools and techniques to connect. So, finding like something new that you both are into can be really powerful. It doesn't have to be hard. It's like remembering how to play, right? Like, what is it that used to bring you joy? When was the last time you actually danced in your kitchen together? When was the last time you actually went out on a date and put your phone away?
Mhm.
It's pretty simple things, it's that intentionality and that presence that I think a lot of times we forget.
And it seems like almost when you do these steps, you create that intimacy that would then lead into the bedroom.
Yes, a lot of times I'll have couples come to me, and the person coming to me is like, I think we just need more sex. And then I get to know them and their relationship and their partner, and I realize that what's actually lacking is emotional safety. And intimacy, these ways of connecting, is what actually creates that emotional safety, which then makes it easier for us to surrender and open and even feel sexy. So it's not necessarily that you need to have more sex, it's that you need to feel safe enough to be having more sex. More connection is needed.
So would you say this starts with your partner, or would you say this starts with you?
Everything always starts with you, right? Anytime that we are like looking and projecting outward, it's probably time to flip the mirror around. That's just always the way it is. You can only be responsible for yourself and the work that you do. I say couples either grow together or apart. So even if you've got a growth resistant partner, a lot of times just by you leaning into your work and leading by example, do it for you, not as manipulation to get them to do it, but they'll come along with you. And if they don't, that's information for you.
I remember when I was learning an energy modality, they were saying like when you upgrade your energetic blueprint, then when you have intimacy, when you have sex, you actually also upgrade your partner because
Mm.
it transitions to them too when you do that act. And so I felt like that is such a powerful tool because you working on you, yes, it radiates and it inspires, but it's also healing others in the process.
Yeah. I mean, it does give permission, and I agree with that completely. I've also had the experience of partners who I feel like I was dragging a dead weight. Like they were so resistant, they were never willing to meet me. I think we do hit like that glass ceiling sometimes with people where they can't come with us, which is also information. If you're on a ascension path, which it sounds
Yeah.
like most of your listeners probably are, that's just something to be aware of. Yeah, because sex in and of itself is very energetic. So, who you're relating with, a lot of times you're taking on their stuff through the act. So, I used to always think, oh, it's fine. Just go, I went through my phase of like free love. But then I realized that maybe that's not energetically sometimes the healthiest way to be.
Yeah, because maybe we're spreading our energy kind of like in places that aren't reciprocating that.
That and taking on people's crap that we do not want to be taking on.
Yes. Which I feel like a lot of women are just, or people in general, we're so energetic, we don't even know how much we take on from other people and then buy it as our own and make it our own when it's not really ours to begin with.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm an empath, so I relate with that completely. It took me a long time to get clear about what was mine and what was other people's.
Yes. So how do you use Tantra in your practice or in your work with people? How can they, for maybe we should give a little because we've talked about Tantra on the show, but I've never had somebody actually explain it,
Sure.
like really explain it. Maybe you can explain a little bit. And then how can we actually use it, incorporate it in our intimacy now?
So I think a lot of people hear Tantra and they think of like Sting or I don't know, some other celebrity that's into Tantra. And I think there's this idea that it means, lovemaking for like days on end, which it certainly can be. It is a practice that takes you to the next level. There's a spiritual teacher, David Dita, who speaks about Tantra, and one of his sayings is fuck her closer to God. I mean, that's essentially, hopefully, it's okay to use that word on your show.
Oh yeah, we talk about it all the time.
Okay, good.
We talk about it.
Um, when I heard that phrase, I was like, I want whatever that is.
Yes. Yes, please.
Yeah, because I think what happens is so often we're in our heads when really all the magic is happening in our body. And ultimately, at the base layer, what Tantra is doing is it's attuning and co-regulating your nervous system to the person you're relating with, which is an energetic practice. If you think about it, I mean, we're all energy, right? But the nervous system is that thing that you're talking about that's picking up on other people's stuff that we're then trying to own. So it's a syncing of that. And couples are doing this whether they want to be or not. So usually we're co-regulating with our pissed off partner who's in a bad mood, and all of a sudden you're in a bad mood and you don't understand why. I think
Right.
we've all had that experience, but you can do it the opposite direction. So a lot of the practices in Tantra are around deep connection. So eye gazing is probably the most popular one you'll ever hear about. And that's hard at first, right? Like a lot of times people have never truly just gazed into their partner's eyes. I always recommend starting very like short segments at first. So like 2 minutes max. Find one eye to stare in and don't forget to breathe. And it's not a staring contest, by the way. You can blink.
Like during sex or before?
You can just sit. There's a
Just and
position you can just sit across from each other. You have to be kind of wider so you don't go cross-eyed and just I mean, you will probably feel things come up. I have giggled plenty of times during eye gazing, but there's something so magic about it. And the more that you do it, the easier that it gets. It's one of the easiest ways to connect. Um, Breath work is another big part of Tantra. And one of my favorite practices, I don't even know if it's Tantra or not, I just think it's such a great way to land with somebody, is the really long breathe to relax hug. So you're hugging and you can even sync your breath. That tends to work pretty well. I'm a dancer and I do this dance congress every year. And this is my favorite class. I go to this, it's literally a hug class. We just hug random strangers. And by the end, you're just like, oh my God, it feels so good. Because you're
That
getting like,
sounds amazing.
oh my God, it's like an oxytocin hit. But you breathe until you feel a drop. And that drop is literally your nervous system. Usually you can feel it in the other person, like their shoulders will just go, whew. That's a really good way to do it. So there's a lot of practices like that where you're either using sight or you're using breath. Um, I'm trying to think of other ones that would be just easy. I mean, connection is also communication. So learning very good ways to communicate that aren't activating because we get in those same patterns in our relationships where we're having the same conversation over and over, and we're not actually even listening to hear the other person or understand. So, one of my favorite exercises is called Fears, Loves, and Desires, where you take time telling your partner what you're afraid of. And you take turns. So, when the other person is listening, they're not allowed to interject. They literally just have to listen and say, thank you. What else? And you do that for about 2 minutes and then switch. And then the next one, what do you desire? Take turns. Thank you. What else? And then finally, what do you love about me? Which is always the best part.
Yeah, I love that. That is so powerful. So, from your experience with Tantra, have you, besides like, I don't want to say the usual things you feel, but I'm curious, like, in terms of orgasms, do you feel like on Tantra that orgasms are different? Like, I remember talking to somebody, a man actually, that was telling me that in Tantra they learn to like actually not, it's almost like they don't ejaculate,
Hmm.
but they come. I mean, they still have some kind of orgasm, but they can keep going and going because they don't orgasm. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, like with the woman, because you mentioned something about having sex for like days or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Like, how does that actually work? I'm really curious.
Yeah, I mean the practice, so there's like two things there. So yes, it is more energetic. And actually you do learn in Tantra to breathe through the different chakras and to cycle the breath. There's a breath called the microcosmic orbit or pleasure circuit, where you're actually taking all of that sexual energy that's kind of usually stuck down in your pelvis area and genitals, and you move it through your entire body. So that's a part of it. So you kind of learn, it's easier to learn the breath separately and then actually bring it into actual intercourse. Usually it's kind of a give and receive thing at first, where the one person's receiving and while working with the breath. For men in particular, the way that actually ends up working is, first of all, men in particular are very like focused on like the penis area and the pleasure there. And so it helps spread out that energy. But then there's a practice called edging, where you bring yourself, like if nine is like the point of no return, you would keep bringing yourself to about a seven and stopping, like letting your partner know that you're at a seven, taking a break and doing it again. And even when you do then have an orgasm or ejaculate, it is way more intense than just, what we've gotten used to in this society.
Yeah. I feel like that's where like the firework in the movies, I feel like that's what we talk about when, like the colors, the emotions, the feelings, that come up when you're actually so in that. And I think that's what so many people, when you watch at least in the movies, that's like the story that we're sold, right? But
Yes,
nobody knows how to get there. So that's like the roadmap to the firework.
that's the right. And not just one firework, like the fireworks show that just goes on and on and on. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Because
that's
I
what I
think
mean.
I think like our society in general is used to like that just one like intense firework, and it does not. have to be that way at all. I mean, women have unlimited potential to have orgasm and a million ways to do it. And most of us have found our way of doing that. I have a membership, and right now we're doing orgasmic expansion this month and talking about because you get in your own ruts. Like there's all these, sometimes we miss certain types of orgasm or pleasure because we're so focused on a certain type. But the
Yes.
sky is basically the limit, honestly.
I know. I know. It's so funny. I was just talking to my girlfriend the other day, and she was like, apparently I can orgasm from a boob massage. I'm like, oh, yeah, you could
Oh,
totally
yeah.
orgasm from a boob massage. She's like, I did not know that. I'm like, yeah, it's
You
amazing.
can, I mean, you can wire anything
Hmm.
to pleasure and orgasm. It's pretty great.
Yeah, it's like the minute you step out of that only one way or the
Yeah.
limitation, the whole world kind of opens up.
Yes, definitely.
I love that. So, where can our listeners find more about you and what you do and how to get in touch with you?
Yeah. So I am Erin Berry Bliss pretty much everywhere. So my website is Erin Berry Bliss. I'm on Facebook as Erin Berry Bliss and same with Instagram. So yeah, come check me out. I do have like some workshops and a retreat coming up for couples. So if you're looking for some guidance in these practices, that's where you can find them.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for this amazing, I must say, orgasmic conversation because I feel like there's so many amazing golden nuggets that you can really take if you were listening and paying attention and implement in your bedroom. It will shift so many things for you. And like Erin said, if you want to know more or try it and play it, check out her membership, check out her retreat. I'm sure you'll find something that will elevate you and give you that fireworks show that you
Definitely.
probably desire because it's amazing. So thank you so much for tuning in with us this week and tune in again next week. Bye.
Bye.